Good evening, everybody. This is me back in touch with John Patterson for the first time in a long time, and we're discussing the videos I've made recently and I've posted on Google Plus. Can you hear the hum? Can you hear the hum, John?
No, it's okay listening.
Oh, it's absolutely buzzing across here.
Well, I mean, I've just tried to record at this end, but I can't do it. Well, I can do it on my other camera, actually. But what you was just asking me was, anyway, it's good to hear from you again, mate. I mean that.
Good.
What you were just asking me was what happened to Norman Baker. Now, he stood down after he was sent some rather embarrassing documents.
So he did not run for re-election?
No, he's gone.
All right.
So, and the last email I sent to him, he was no longer an MP. So, I contacted the new MP for East Sussex, who was Maria Colford. And, of course, she's done the same thing. She won't reply. So she won't be.
And is she Conservative, or what's her affiliation?
Conservative.
Okay.
So listen to this. Then I found out who, because you know you don't get any response from these people, even though they're our servants. So then I found out who the MP from East Sussex was. Check this out, George.
Yeah, I'm just going to take a...
Huh?
Tell me who it is.
It turned out to be Lord Soames. Lord Nicholas Soames.
Oh yeah, the fat guy.
Yeah, the grandson.
And Abel Danger are all over his crimes in the...
Oh, listen, because he's my local MP, I've got to talk to his secretary. So we're talking about Nicholas Soames, who is the grandson of Zionist Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
He lives just up the road, well, his office is just up the road from here.
But that is your neighbouring constituency, that's not your constituency.
Yeah, now I'm going on to that, because when I spoke to his secretary, it was all on tape, and I've never published it all over the internet. His secretary said to me, well, you're East Sussex, and the protocol is you can't go out there. I said, well, listen, thank you very much for listening, but you must understand. When I reported this to my local MP, Norman Baker, unfortunately, he stood down shortly afterwards. I said, I've spoken to Sergeant Mullen at Sussex Police, and I basically reported Sussex Police for covering up crimes against humanity because I reported this crime in June of 2014. So when I explained this to Nicholas Soames' secretary, he, I'll post the YouTube video.
And what's his ID on company check or on company's...
Offhand, I don't know, George.
It's just that he's got two very legitimate looking political...
Oh, he's the chairman, isn't he the director or chairman of Serco?
That wouldn't have surprised me. Yeah, I think that's what Abel Danger were hitting on.
Bill McConnell has exposed Serco, and their shares have tumbled.
And
so
Serco is about human trafficking, is that correct?
Oh, they own all the prisons. Look, it was Serco that owned the control towers, and this all rolls into the missing planes, MH17, MH370, which were the same plane. There wasn't two planes.
Yeah.
The original hijacking at MH317 was landed in Diego last year. They know this because the Rolls-Royce engines are still pinging, yeah? So, before I go too deep, his secretary confirmed to me that Nicholas Soames had received my email and returned it. Now, on top of that, George, I contacted the Guardian newspaper and I emailed them the same information. Now, Gordon Bowden has delivered forensic documents to Jeremy Corbyn's team. These are the same documents that we hand-delivered on the 1st of March to the BBC. So what you have now, you have all your top Lord members of Parliament, BBC, they're all complicit in crimes against humanity because they've been informed, okay? They know about this fraud that, you know, has been going on for 40 years.
Absolutely, and that's why Tony Blair, the only person who's a Prime Minister in that 40-year period who has a full record on HANSARD, all the rest of them have their HANSARD records deleted, which is why I was so shocked by what I discovered yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah, and why I'm hearing an immense amount of hum that I've never heard before. Yeah, and that is a huge constitutional breach. Michael Moore was booted out of the cabinet because he refused to meet me in the end, and Gordon's people, that were Margaret Beckett and Chris Williamson, were also guilty of that huge breach of the UK Constitution, that they would not allow Gordon to meet them. His publications that were shared with the whole world and still are on the front page of my website, yet they have been totally suppressed. And everything that Michael Moore, as Secretary of State for Scotland, he ran the Student Loans Company.
That's right.
He made a statement in the manifesto in 2010 that he would never condone fee-paying structures for British students. As a Lib Dem, it was the biggest crime that any politician could ever commit against their children, and he committed it. Yeah, within a few months he became the leader of the Student Loans Company with Vince Cable, his colleague, and that's the head of the DTI, run on behalf of profiteering at the Rothschild Bank and stealing from every British student. All of that has been removed from HANSARD, like all of Michael Moore's activities in Afghanistan and all of his activities in all of the fudged Dunblane, Iraq, Lockerbie. He's Secretary of State for Scotland. All of those inquests he's privy to, which is why nothing is left on his record. It's huge, and Tony Blair has nothing at all. Yeah, absolutely nothing at all for his whole term in office. Yeah, so I just wanted you to know that, and I just wondered whether or not Norman Baker dropped out for similar reasons. Do you know how to find HANSARD? You know,
I'll check it out, George. Gordon done a check on Norman Baker, and he was connected to certain companies linked to 788 790 Pension Road.
And to the French Chamber of Commerce. Remember we made that video?
Correct. So, you know, they're dropping like flies, and when their replacements come along, we'll drop those out as well until we get
well, they're much more difficult to find out, because they're, you know, all the major criminals we've now hit on, and they've almost all have been forced to resign. I'm quite surprised that Soames is still in there after what Abel Danger did to them.
It won't be there much longer, sure. But
the new head of the Secretary of State for Business Innovation and Skills, is a guy called Sajid Javid, and he's a massive banking magnate. Yeah, I have not found him on the company registers yet. Can you hear the hum?
No, it's okay this thing, but listen, if this doesn't turn out good, we'll do this again, because this is more dynamite stuff.
Well, that's what they need. You know, they've gotten used to, since they started to section me, I've dedicated a lot of my time to defending myself. And my MPs let me declare who my MPs are now. It's Callum Kerr and it's John Lamont MSP. They are my political representatives. They are allowing the sectioning to occur. It's a totally political act.
I sent a warning.
Yeah, I saw it. Thank you for that.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah, I saw your correspondence with my MP. They're totally ignoring it. Yeah.
Well, they'll ignore it at their own peril, George, and that's all I need to say.
Well, it's a massive breach of human rights, because we brought the last cabinet to its knees. That's been acknowledged. All of the deletions from HANSARD are a massive breach of the UK Constitution, and what Tony Blair did in Iraq and the rewards that he has been given by our government since are massive. He has not, though, joined the peerage. Yeah, he makes a fortune from his private businesses, and that is the Linton Blair link that we discovered, and you remember all the disclosures that we've made.
Yeah.
What happens when we fail to communicate with each other is that they get a stable environment to steal from the people. I don't know whether or not Zahawi made it back into the new government. Do you know?
I think he's been dropped, George.
Okay, yeah, you see, it's like a hot potato. When you expose them with the director numbers, they have nowhere to go other than to use the corrupted NHS that I revealed in 2011 earned 40% of their salary from disowning their Hippocratic oath to protect their patients and to do their best for their patient community. They get 40% of their salary for prescribing by volume, and the man that sectioned me with 23 hours notice on what my diagnosis was for the locked door hearing, his name is Dr. Ian Fingland. He's a traitor to his country and to his students. He's the school governor. He trained as a policeman, and he is now a medic, and he has openly been declared as a profiteer with all of the British doctors.
Is that Finland? F-I-N?
Finland, they have had, if you look on the front page of my website, he and Basil Schwitzer, the shrink who's now disappeared from the country, they came into my home. I allowed them into my home on the grounds that I was able to make a video of all of the conversation. They would not allow me to do that. When they left, I asked them forcibly to leave, and I made a video of the rejection from my home. They have now taken that down, after my sectioning, after Finland wrote a letter and communicated the contents of that letter and my diagnosis, that means that I now am enforced intramuscular injections once a month. I've lost my right to work. I've lost my right to drive. I've lost my...
We're talking about attempted murder here, mate.
Yeah, that's why it will be in the end. If they hit a vein, it will be an accident.
Listen, I'm going to warn these guys now. That's it. You've had your last warning. If they don't back off, George, I can't stop what's going to happen. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, I'm just continuing to defame them and all of their colleagues. Yeah, you know how generous I've been to Cameron. Cameron has not taken us into new war zones. And
I haven't been as pleasant today, Cameron, I'm afraid. I went to number 10 Downing Street with my camera, George.
Yeah.
Did you see that one?
Did you get beyond the gates, like?
Oh, I listened. It's better than that, George. I succeeded where our mate, Greg Hallett, failed. And Greg Hallett has been calling us sockheads. So now I'm exposing Greg Hallett for who he is.
I don't believe it's the same person, you know. He doesn't talk about the same issues.
Whatever's happened to him, he's totally a lunatic.
Well, you see, what they do is they sell his publications under the new ID. And I told you about the Greg Hallett that is registered in Nadim Zahawi's constituency of Stratford-on-Avon. That's where the world's elite writers are launched from to falsify all of the news that comes out through Michael Grade's vents. And all the stuff I found out about, you know, the Royal Institution for International Affairs, Chatham House, and all that stuff.
Well, listen to this, George. I've just come back from a meeting today with a 74-year-old ex-BBC technician. He's bordering on genius, okay? And I can tell you now, I've got stuff that's, well, the BBC's already finished. I'm talking about inside information, mate.
Have you seen my videos on the American presidency and its links to the world's elite since the Pisos?
No, I'll have to check, George. I've been so busy, I haven't checked most of them.
Most of my recent stuff has been on the links of the presidential and the Windsor bloodline to the Bible authors through all of the Roman emperor frauds that I think we talked about, you know, Abelard Reuchlin stuff.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, so what you've got is a series of families that are called Hutchinsons.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's the rabbit joke. It's the rabbit. It's the Winnie the Pooh sign, and it comes right through world history.
100.
Yeah, and so one of those families, very close to the Bush family, Gordon and Peter, told me that the Bush's pseudonyms were Sheriff, I think.
Oh, Sheriff, yeah, well, they're German.
Yeah.
Sheriff.
Well, what it turns out to be is that they are called FDR and the Bushes are all related to the Piso bloodline and to the Windsor bloodline and to
wow, really?
Marie Antoinette. Yeah, they're all in the same lineages. And what I've been doing is tracking it all across Europe as the Christian menace comes across Europe in the 30 Years' War and the 100 Years' War. All of the world leaders through all of that period are still the same people.
Well, Jules, listen, I'm going to tell you something now, man. You're talking about Marie Antoinette, the French Revolution. Listen to this. I was contacted several months ago by the grandson of a very famous MP. Now listen to this. He has direct love, forensic, family tree, everything, to the man who's behind Napoleon. His family goes back way beyond the Rothschild. Listen to this. He set up, you have heard of Crime Stoppers?
Heard of what?
Crime Stoppers?
Yeah, it's just a fraud, John. They're just, it's just a diversionary tactic.
I know it is, but that was set up, not originally as a fraud. It was set up with this guy that I know and Lord Ashcroft, who he was working under. Now,
what was he as an ordinary politician before he became a lord?
Well, Lord Ashcroft, he basically bailed out the Conservative Party. He gave the Conservative Party millions of his own money, and he was hoping for some sort of recognition, and they dropped him. So he wrote a book. Now, I don't know if you've seen any of this David Cameron pig stories going around.
It's got the word pie in it.
It's even in the mainstream media. But anyway,
yeah,
that's out of Lord Ashcroft's book. He's now writing his second book.
Yeah.
Now listen to this. This guy, he told me stuff over the last few months, and I actually got to meet him. Right? He's the real thing. Now, I'm not going to tell you his name because it's not his real name. And when we're off camera, I'm going to give you a few more details, because I don't want to say any more until I've actually seen the hard forensic evidence with my own eyes. So we'll keep that for another chat, okay? So
can I just tell you about the cheating and the stealing that happens in the Parliament building and everything that they used to have to declare, and they did declare when I came back from New Zealand in 2010. You know how on every politician's transcript it has their earning sources and all of their income sources listed?
Yeah.
All of that's been taken down.
Yeah, cool.
That's a huge breach of every democratic principle that our country stands for.
Well, whenever these videos go out to us, and like Gordon said, they want to find out how much you know, and then what they do is they close doors. They slam doors. But it's too late anyway, because, well, it proves they've got something to hide.
Well, what they've got to hide is that the Treasury is emptied systematically by the methods that we have exposed over the last 4 years. And that's why you were being persecuted. You were going to be thrown in jail too for a while, were you?
Well, I was arrested and thrown in a cell and charged with obstruction. But what happened was, they assaulted my friend who was a 57-year-old cancer patient. And I just stood in because they were trying to force her arm behind her back, and she had all her lymph glands in her shoulder.
Oh yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Hang on, I'm just going to... Hello? Sorry, George, go on.
So yeah, it's just that when you go to the Houses of Parliament website and you look at HANSARD now, and you look up David Cameron, there is nothing on his entry. Yeah, and that's Prime Minister Cameron. The only one who's got a full entry in the last 40 or 50 years is John Major, and he's the fraudster on the energy scams. Yeah, I've told you about my energy being shut down. They're now threatening to send a subsidiary company to install another pair of meters. They don't know that the parent company have already installed meters on my home, and all of my assets are thousands of pounds of assets. I have no qualification for legal aid in all the legal battles I've been in for the last 4 years. Yeah, and all of the correspondence that has gone to Jedburgh Sheriff Court has gone to David Cameron, has gone to the people that resigned post-referendum. You remember all of the landslide resignations that we had? William Hague, all of the correspondence that were obligated to confirm receipt because of their secretaries of state. Yet all of them had to drop out of office, and they're still out of office as far as I can see.
George, listen mate, I've got a top barrister that might help you.
Is that Patrick?
No, that's common law. I'm talking about a debarred barrister was debarred because he was going after government corruption. I'll tell you what's happened, George. They've been weaning bit by bit these corrupt barristers out. Okay? Now I spoke to a lady. Corrupt
means that they are freedom fighters and they want the truth to be outed. Is that what you mean?
These are barristers that are basically are corrupt and are on the wrong side. Let's put it that way.
I've never met any legal representative that is on the right side, with one possible exception called Ross Dow.
I'm going to tell you what's happened. What's happened is they've gradually got all these corrupt barristers out, and it's now reversed. But the few corrupt ones that are still in have got so much power. But what you've got this guy that's representing me, who's quite a genius actually. I've already signed about 50 documents. They've all been stamped and sealed to Royal Court of Justice. I've got, on the 27th of November, George, I've got a case, John Patterson versus Sussex Police, and Regina versus John Patterson, and I'm going to win those cases.
You're taking on Queenie.
George, this is huge. I'll have to talk to you a bit more.
Yeah, when I wrote my letter to Queenie, that's when the sectioning threat really hit the fan. Yeah, she's totally treasonous. The whole of her regime is a disaster, and all of the responses to everything that I published, she appears in her region 2 or 3 times in that period of time. Yeah, she appears denouncing the concept that she was pictured when she was a youngster making a Nazi salute, and all of the links of blind Prince George. He is a local person, much more local than I'd ever known when I listened to Greg Hallett. He lives in Teviotdale. That's the river I fish for salmon on.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's right next door to us, and all the 3 fucking Masons know it inside out.
Yeah, it will do.
And it's just total chaos for hundreds and hundreds of years. And that's what I wrote to the Queen about. The safe way out for her and her family to get through the familicides. And I don't know whether or not she ever receives any of those letters, but the courtiers that do the murders for all the world history have installed that NHS team that are themselves criminals to persecute me from this innocent stance. Can you hear the hum now?
No, it's okay this time.
Alright.
You know, they haven't touched me yet, George. Listen to this, mate. I was threatened. Sussex Police sent me this letter, which is all logged now. They said, we strongly advise that you do not post on social media and YouTube. So I contacted Sergeant Mullen from Sussex Police, and I will be point blank.
And was he your mate? Was he your informant, or the soft one that was talking to you?
Listen, there was Daniel Turk.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so he's limited to what he can do. The other chap was Alistair Batchelor, who I haven't seen since. But I've since found out, listen to this, George, a friend of my cousin, her sister's youngest sister, when she was 14 years old, this PC bachelor who interviewed me in this flat in May last year, this PC bachelor, when she was 14 years old, gave her first marijuana strip. Yeah?
Right.
Now then, I haven't seen him since, but I know where he lives. He lives 2 doors along from my cousin, right? So they know that I know their game. And I've already offered, there was a guy in East Sussex Custody Centre that threatened me. He said he finished his work at 3 a.m. in the morning and he won't have his uniform on. And they stepped out of my cell at 1 o'clock. And I said to him, listen, I'm not going to wait around here for 2 hours. I said, you know where I live. I said, you come around any time and we'll go on the beach and I'll fight you for 100 quid, right? And I told this to Sergeant Mullen. And I told Sergeant Mullen, if they dare warn me again to take my material off, we're coming after Sussex Police. They're trying to cover up the biggest crime in history, and none of my stuff was taken down. And on the 27th of November, George, it's John Patterson versus Sussex Police, and I've got tons of forensic evidence that will close them down.
And do you get legal aid?
No, I've got the best barristers in the country.
But you're going to have to pay for that.
It's free, George.
How the fuck do you get that?
Because they're like you and me. They want to rid
Oh, I see, they're freedom fighters themselves.
You better believe it. Listen, I've met this guy several times. He's just like me. He's got a bee in his bonnet and he's going after them. He's like you, he's like Paul, he's like all of it. He's not in it for the money. Now the beauty of it is, George, that I can fight them as long as I want to.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't cost me anything.
Well, I would love to take the case about the treasonous MPs that have represented me in Gordon. Yeah, because I've got all the data on all their director numbers.
Well, you can come in or out. Look, there's me and there's 3 other people.
Have you seen the shit that's hitting the fan on the Iraq scandal and all the interlocks between Rifkind and Chilcot? Yeah, that is peripherally talked about in the Quisling papers now. Did I tell you that Rebecca Brooks has joined me on LinkedIn?
That's right. But I've got some great news to tell you as well, Jim, before I forget. Listen to this. I took 2 days off on the weekend.
Yeah.
2 days off I've had in 2 years. And so I had no internet and I had no phone. And I met a really good old friend that I haven't seen for crazy. Romantic. Now listen to this, George. Can you hear this?
Yeah.
A friend of ours in Dulwich, who we used to party with years ago, you know, has just been given an OBE by the Queen. There's pictures of her with the Queen inside number 10, rubbing shoulders with paedophile politicians that we've got documents on. So we're talking about a close friend of mine with an OBE who's got access to number 10 Downing Street. How's that?
Yeah, but you know what, the OBE people are the villains and the Knights are the bigger villains. So Stephen House has just announced that he will be resigning because of our activities and everything that we have told the world about him and the Met Police stealing from all of the local police divisions.
George, listen mate, she's a friend. What they do, they surround themselves with decent people, you know that. She hasn't got a clue about what goes on. But you and me know.
Yeah.
She was done very well. She became a headmaster mistress of a famous school. I'm not going to tell you her name, I'm not going to tell you the school at the moment. Because we have to break this to her gently. She's just someone that's done well, got an OBE. She has no idea, Jude. So it has to be broken gently to her.
Can I just refer her then to this video, to the Parliament UK website and all of the cover-ups of all of the Lords and MPs' crimes now? Yeah, When I came back from New Zealand in 2010, they were obligated to register and declare all of their private interests, all of their surrogate companies, everything that they do in the back room, and all of that had to be published on the www.parliament.uk site that I'm now pointing my camera at. All of the obligation to do that has been taken from the website. If you want to get the MP's expenses or income from all of the companies that all of them run, and all of those resignations we have precipitated have been based on those exposures. Yeah, that is the people like Zahawi and like Klaus Moser who run their for-profit companies from the House of Lords and the House of Commons, and they launder the money out through the Westminster Foundation for Democracy, with 3,000 Ponzi shells on that one, and all of the Rothschild companies that I'm telling you have now closed down all of their declarations of their income and their net worth on all of that massive 285 listing of directors and companies. All of that has been obfuscated from the public truth. Yeah, and all of the entries for Michael Moore, Secretary of State for Scotland, have been removed from HANSARD since 2005, when he got in a little tiff about one of the Scottish regiments being shut down. That's the last thing that treasonous man has on HANSARD. Yeah, Tony Blair has nothing on it at all. David Cameron has nothing on it at all, and that could be because he is still the current incumbent, and the crimes that they commit are official state secrets. Can you hear the hum now?
No.
I'd like to stop there because that's quick and snappy, and I'm delighted to be talking to you again. Yeah, because what's happening to me is that if things go badly with this cabal of criminals in both chambers, I get sectioned for my honesty and the dedication of all of my time for 4 years of unremunerated research to expose the people that have been forced into resignation. I will not stop until they gag me with the forced intramuscular medication that Basil Switzer and Dr. Ian Fingland have imposed on me as profiteers in the best NHS in the world. Yeah, and all of that news will continue to come out. I would love to know a little bit more about Nicholas Soames, and we can find that out for you, because the stuff that the Americans release across the Atlantic.
Nicholas Soames was the one who phoned Princess Diana, and there was a documentary, and it's still up there, and she was with her best friend at the time, because her best friend said, oh, it sounded like he had a cough in his mouth. And it was Nicholas Soames warning Princess Diana. He said, you better watch what you say, or words to that effect. You better keep your mouth closed because accidents happen. This is the Nicholas Soames. And what you need to do
you want to hear an even more heretical word than Nicholas?
You must watch Health School. HELLSTORM. Health School. It's banned in most countries. You can get it on YouTube. Watch it, please.
Have you heard of the Hambro Bank?
Yes.
We're not allowed to talk about the Hambro Bank anywhere now across the world.
Well, let's talk about it.
It is the Intel hub running the SOE and the Baker Street irregulars. Thousands and thousands of people working in profiteering in peacetime as Intel. When we get into wartime in Intel, it's run by Colin Gubbins, Jocelyn Hambro, and a man called Nelson. Yet they are massive fraudsters in the banking dynasty, and I was going to tell you about the new head of the justice sector, who is also a massive banking dynasty. His name in the new regime is Sajid David. Yeah, Sajid Javid, Secretary of State for Business, Innovation and Skills. Joined the Chase Manhattan Bank in New York immediately out of university. Later joined the Deutsche Bank as director in 2000. In 2004 2004 became the managing director at the Deutsche Bank. 1 year later, global head of emerging markets structuring. So this is the new head of the DTI, and that is typical of how the country is now run. The Treasury funds the politicians, not the country, and the Bank of England is even worse, and you and I have understood that for months and months and months. None of the public sector people get any of the funding that the public sector deserves, because the whole of the Treasury Office and the whole of the Bank of England is a privately run fraud, and all of the directors on that we have dedicated the last 4 years to revealing. They're still there. Yeah, I'm going to stop there. It is absolutely massive.
Before you go, listen, if they try to force medicate you, mate, they've got to force medicate me, because I've got stuff that's going to make them wet their pants. And I'll tell you one more thing. If they want to come around here, right, the offer's open. And I'll tell you another thing. There's some guy standing by with blowing torches, right, ready to go to work on them.
I'm a pacifist, Jonathan. Don't like that sort of stuff. And even the concept that I'm going to get twice a month, I'm not able to hold down a job because of what the medics are doing to me. It's absolutely ruthless. I've been on the drug safety councils in Australasia. That's New Zealand's representative for drug safety in the southern hemisphere. I have never been on any other drug regimen other than an occasional paracetamol, yeah, for the whole of my life. What they want to do is to silence me by using the frauds in the NHS and the councils and the secret hearings that they convene to convert an overtly political action into the silencing of the world's most informed activists with all of the war crimes director numbers. Yeah, I don't know how they think they're going to get away with it, and I need the support of you and your mates in that battle.
Listen, they've got a choice. We've got all their names, we know where they live. We even got, look, I won't even tell you how much we know about them, right? They're not going to touch you, George, and they wouldn't dare lay a finger on you. Never. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, well,
We'll talk more about the Hambro Bank, and we'll talk more about the things they don't want us to talk about.
Well, the Hambros Bank is the hub for the religious movement that is the Moravian Bank, and it moves across from the pagan regions in Eastern Europe, and all of that takes in the selling of Norway, because Quisling was a friend of Jocelyn Hambro, and that is the Quisling of Norway that is the legendary name. He's actually the Prime Minister in Norway when the Nazis swept in, and all of the Breivik stories are a cover for the bankers that were in league with the SOE, and that is the Baker Street Irregulars, where Miss Manningham Buller and my ex-wife and my brother-in-law trained with Michael Heseltine in Intel to steal from all of British citizens and the students.
Well, you know, we got the Royal Air Force and the American Air Force working on this, George, because Phil McConnell and Gordon Bowden on the steps of the Brighton Magistrates Court putting a appeal out to the military to arrest the traitors.
Yeah, but you don't understand the complexity of the video I made yesterday, John. That every one of the regiments and every one of the squadrons, they're subsidiarised, and they have got a massive presence of military police. In the wartime, there are 60,000 military police released into the combatants. They're profiteers. If anybody talks about treason in the ranks on either side, you know that Hitler and Stalin were trained to be profiteers on behalf of the Axis countries. Yeah, that is the world's biggest secret. And when you start talking about that and the links to the Hambro Bank, which is one of the biggest profiteering banks to emerge entirely from World War II, yeah, Jocelyn Hambro was the boss there, and all of it is now covered up with bands in the New World Order pop music sector. Look for the Baker Street Irregulars. You will not see that it is a spying hub for HRH and the profiteering, stammering king and the abdicated people in France. It is actually now a series of pop bands, and that is British intel. That is the Special Operations Executive, run by Gubbins, run by a man called Hankey, and all of it is covered up by dart players and football players and absolute trivial stuff, and it leads to the death of 80 million people in World War II, and 50 million in World War II, and all of that is run by the same people that are now in the tax havens making the movies about the bonds, and all of the people that parachuted into the London Olympics joke about the death of Mr. Bean's victims in Gallipoli. All of that has got them in a shameful place, and the Queen now stammers frequently in my home region because she is the villain in chief. And when I wrote to her trying to find her a way out of all of that treasonous behaviour, which is really dangerous for every member of that royal family. How many victims have died in your lifetime, John? And all of it. The elite training places, the Jedburgh Sheriff Court, where I've been at war with the Sheriffdom, there is a Jedburgh spying agency trained in Peterborough in elite mansions, and all of them parachute into other people's countries through all of the great conflicts. And if you've watched the Valkyrie film, you will understand that only the loyalists die.
That's right.
You understand that, and you heard Greg Hallett telling us about the body doubles in the Valkyrie movie and all of that. Hitler laughing up his sleeve because he's a Rothschild. Shall we stop there? It's really good to be talking to you again.
George, listen, I've got a lot to tell you another time offline, but there's good stuff coming down the pipeline too.
And you get your man Soames backed into a corner on what he has produced on HANSARD, and have a look at the video, the very first 10 minutes of yesterday's videos on Google Plus, and you'll see that Blair and Brown and Cameron and Michael Moore and those people in Derby that Gordon were talking to, and they were refusing to listen to him, they were refusing to meet. That is a huge breach of the British Constitution, and if we were to take that to court, then we could get redress on the sacrifice that we have made for our country over 4 years now. And on the religious frauds, your name has become a legend because you're the only one with the courage to talk about that to me. And now that story takes you from Lagos the Rabbit in Macedonia, from Alexander the Great's time, right through the Piso family, right through the Holy Roman Emperor, and the splitting of religion into the Eastern hub in Constantinople, the Western hub in France that's a Cluny Abbey joke, and I've got it all sussed now, and all of them are relatives of Bush and FDR, Marie Antoinette and HRH the Queen. Since the mad Hanoverians were imposed on us, and they are sitting on the deck chairs on the battleships as we bombard the British troops, and they are the people that gifted Buckingham Palace to the Windsors. And they live in the Teviot Valley within 30 miles of my home, and the Duke of Buccleuch has soaked up all of the stuff that was taken from them after they were exposed as being traitors. But they are actually the lineage that sired Queen Victoria's only legitimate child, and you know that story a lot.
Oh, Marcus Manuel.
That is the one. That is blind Prince George of Cumbria and Teviotdale, right next door to my hometown, and all of the fucking Masons know it. And that is the leading Masons that are the treasonous people that are Lord Sanderson of Bowden, that link into the Duchess of Sutherland, the Melrose Schools and the Montefiore families, which is a subsidiary of Rothschild, and it is a subsidiary of Rothschild. And the people, have you heard of Helen Hirsch in the
Yeah, the Hirsch, that's German, aren't they?
no, the Hirsches are in the fucking Rothschild bloodline. It's in the Schindler's List film joke. Yeah, Helen Hirsch is picked as the unmarried virgin for Goethe, the murderous man who stands on the balcony and picks off his victims. Do you get the joke? That's the Rothschilds that fund both sides in the conflict. Yeah, and all of it is massive, and all of that I've exposed in the last few months, which is totally coincident with my sectioning by Her Royal Highness, the Windsor family.
But yes, we're going to need to, as soon as you download it, let me know, because I want to make it viral.
Okay, so you haven't got a taped version of this?
No, I haven't. No.
Okay, yeah, we'll do it.
Listen, George, if it hasn't come out, we'll go through it again and we'll both take it, because this has to go out there.
I'm just a little bit vexed that I didn't get... If you can find the time to look at the video I made yesterday on the SOE and the Hambro Bank, you know how the Hambro Bank has become such a touchy subject that it's almost been disappeared from the internet. When you realise that the SOE was called the Baker Street Irregulars, and when you do a Google search for that now, you will not find anything on spying or intel. There were 1 million people in every one of those secretive organisations, and you know the Valkyrie film, yeah? That's one tier in Germany of what we have hundreds of, and there's one even in my local region called the Jedburgh Irregulars, yeah, and the Jedburgh spying team, and it's quite stunning when you see it. And all of the people that do that, like Field McConnell and Gordon, are loyalists, but the government and even the monarchy and the stammering king are much cleverer than all of them, because they've got them all looking down over each other's shoulders as loyalists, so that the whole of the war can be a chaotic profiteering exercise run by the Rothschilds, the Montefiore's, and Helen Hirsch is on the fundraising side, Axis powers and Allied powers. Wow. It's massive. Thanks for getting back in touch.
Okay, George. Listen, good luck, and we'll speak again.
Yeah, please do. Cheers, John.